Hey Newton, I wish I were there with you in person. It's so much fun to talk with aspiring entrepreneurs and to field their questions. But I am grateful that you're having me on via video. So let me get the presentation started. The title of the presentation is Your CEO Journey Begins Today. And that's because as a prospective searcher or acquisition entrepreneur, you are going to be working every day from now on becoming the CEO that you ultimately want to be. So indeed, your journey has begun. As with all journeys, it is very helpful to understand what the roadmap looks like and what tools and resources are available for your backpack to take on that journey. And of course, it's always helpful to get advice and tips from people who have made the journey before or who have watched others make that journey too. So I have gotten a little bit of intel from my friends Mark and Luke at Search Funder, and I wanted to share that with you. Looking at the data since the pandemic. So here is a chart of search fund formations. As you'll see, it started to tick up in the mid noughts and then in the teens really started an exponential path with essentially exponential growth for about a decade. Now, I was kind of curious about what might happen with the pandemic. So here you have the first half of the year starts in blue, the second half of the year starts in purple, and then the full year in gray. And as you can see, those trend upward as well. So if we hadn't been in pandemic times, I might have expected that the chart would look like this for 2021. We might see a little bit of growth in there, and I'd be kind of curious to see what happens. So let me show you the actual result. There was actually a decrease in 2021 of formations. Now it's kind of interesting that with all the turmoil we had in 2020 that we didn't see a substantial decrease. My guess on that is, and it is pure speculation, is that folks who had already been on the pathway decided to keep on the path of doing their search fund because it does take a lot of time and research. And then maybe those who hadn't yet committed to it decided to delay. So maybe that means that we'll see more searchers in the coming years launching their search fund. I also have a little preliminary data for 2022. It's too early to say what the exact numbers are going to end up because it does take a while before the data gets into Search Funder. So I'm not able to reach much of a conclusion yet about what that's going to look like. So let's look at the chart again in a different way. You can see the exponential rise and then the drop off in 2021. So now turning to acquisitions. So this is data through 2019. There was a bit of a leveling off between 2018 and 2019. That could have been because of perceived high valuations or some other factor. The green line is acquisitions based on the 2020 data. The blue line is acquisitions based on the most recent data that I've received from Mark and Luke. And I'm just showing you what would be projected for 2021 if we were looking at the overall trend of increasing acquisitions. What we would have expected would be a slight increase. What actually happened was a surge in acquisitions in 2021. Now, this could be that there were acquisitions that didn't happen in 2020 because of the pandemic. Maybe searchers and sellers took a wait and see approach and there was a backlog, or it could be that maybe sellers finally were like, look, I'm giving up. I've had enough. I've been through 9/11 and the Great Recession, and this is just one thing too many. It's hard to say exactly from the numbers. The other thing that I noticed in the data that is that for the first half of 2022, the number of acquisitions have trended up. Now, I do expect that number to increase. I don't know by how much as more data starts rolling in, but it's never gone down. I feel fairly confident that that's going to stick. So that is the new data that we have. It's showing a surge continues in acquisitions and a pretty substantial leap between 2020 and 2021. So that's the landscape that you are going to be launching in if you are considering acquisition entrepreneurship for your career. Next, what I'd like to do is very quickly go through some of the key advice that I've heard from investors and operators and professionals and brokers, things that come up fairly frequently. I will be sharing the slides, so you will have them to be able to look through in more detail. Two pieces of advice that I've heard that resonates with me and resonates with other searchers I've talked to is making sure that you build an acquisition machine, not a due diligence machine. Sometimes we focus on the tasks that we are capable of doing, that we are accustomed to, and what we want as an output of the search process is that you become a business owner and or CEO of your own company. The other piece of advice, which is just good for any of life's journeys, is start with the end in mind. Jan Simon put in his book about starting with the end in mind as you're evaluating companies for potential acquisition. Rob LeBlanc and many others have talked about starting with the end in mind when it comes to what kind of CEO you want to be, what you want to accomplish for yourself, for your family, and for your community. So there is a lot of thinking that needs to be done ahead of time in order to make sure that you are on the right pathway for you, because at certain points you probably are going to have some options and you're going to have to pick them based on your best estimate of what will get you to the goals that you envision for yourself in the best fashion. There are tons of resources out there for getting started. In the beginning, there basically was traditional search, and then self-funded came along. Now we have Accelerator as well. No matter what search fund vehicle you are looking at, you're going to want to understand the economics of the vehicle, how much ownership you have in the company, how much time commitment you have, and then what you are risking. There is so many great, amazing options and variations within those options right now for searchers that I do liken it to a pie. You have to decide whether you want the chocolate bourbon or the lemon meringue or the savory mincemeat pie. And you're going to have to decide if that's the kind of pie that you want, that you feel comfortable taking a daily bite out of for the next 5 to 7 years. So it is a weighty decision, but it's one that you should go into with as much clarity and conviction as you possibly can, given all the other unknowns out there. So a question that often comes up is on sourcing. The best advice that I've heard is make sure that you get that deal pipeline flowing, particularly if you are not a finance, private equity type person. Start out with the brokers, and then if you want to switch to proprietary search, go from there. On investor relations, Jeff Stevens, I think, summed it up well, and I think it's great life advice as well. Try to make your conversations with investors, coaches, or mentors productive, that you're engaging with them productively. You'll find that you build better relationships with them. I love it when I am mentoring somebody and they say, you know, I went to a trade show and I saw this, or I've I'm thinking this might be a trend. What do you think? I find those very interesting and meaty conversations because that amplifies my view of what is out there in my range. I'm going to skip the deal making slide. The big thing, if you don't have a ton of money, which searchers don't, is it is all about your character and reputation and ability to be trustworthy and to listen in order to get the deal done. The final bit of advice that I have is on creating value. Every time I talk to a CEO, whether they're in the search space or not, it always comes down to the people. It's always people, people, and people. And the way that you get to know your business is through the people. Businesses create value through their people. So getting to know your people as their boss is an important thing. So I'm going to adjourn this just for a second so that I can switch over and show you a little bit about Search Funder. Wanted to show you a couple of things that may help you along your way. The first thing that I want to show you is where the main menu is. It's right up next to your profile. I recommend clicking every single thing on here when you join Search Funder. And if you've already joined, go ahead and do it now. You have here discussions. There you've got the intro to search fund. So that's the required reading for the search fund community. And then you have discover groups. On the past events page, which I'm going to click on now, we have all of the events that have occurred in the search fund space. And if there is a video, you'll see the little video icon and you'll see a thumbnail of the video. A lot of people do this on their treadmill. It's a great resource to have this past events page. Search Funder also has directories. I'm going to show you the investor directory. A lot of people will put in their criteria, but one thing they forget to do is add their search fund once it has started. And this is important because this helps with the matching feature. Some investors want to wait until you are past the exploration phase and are raising capital, or after you are actively searching. So it's helpful to not only put your search fund on Search Funder, but also to update your status. And you're putting your search fund on Search Funder will allow you to have a discount for HubSpot. I want to share with you the other tools on Search Funder. The first one on the list is Data Axle. So let's say you're thinking about looking at event planning companies, and I'm just going to do event planning in California. 83 companies came up. Search Funder provides some preview information. You can also purchase additional data through Search Funder as well. So I'm going to now move to another tool, which is the industry reports. Mark has done a great job in providing some bells and whistles there, so you can look at each year, see what the CAGR is by just clicking on the graph. One of my favorite things to do is to run up and down the supply chain, because sometimes you might have a great industry, but what you really need is the suppliers to that industry to take a look at. So once you've have an understanding of the lay of the land for the industry that you're deciding on, another helpful tool is BVR deal stats. So I'm just going to put event planning into a BVR deal stats. And here you see the deals are coming up. I can look at the EBITDA margins. I want to just touch on jobs because I do get a lot of questions about that. You can find internships on Search Funder. You can find CEO roles, CFO roles. if you are looking for an internship and you're having trouble finding one, feel free to do a separate post. Just introduce yourself. Do not put any confidential information on there. Just, basically say, I'm Karen. I'm from upstate New York. I'm looking to do a internship with a search fund. I'm hoping that it will be remote and last from, let's say, June to September. You should get plenty of searchers looking for you as well. There is the deal exchange. The unique feature about the deal exchange is the feature that you can put both companies for sale on there, as well as that you are seeking capital. There's tons of filters that you can use to be able to uh, hone in on the type of business that you want. And folks have found their deal that they acquire, their business that they acquired through the deal platform, and they have also found the broker that led them to their deal on this platform. So it's pretty incredible. Finally, I'm just going to show you the account menu here so that you know how to change your email preferences. And one last tip that will make you a real search funder aficionado. Carrots and wedges on Search Funder have lots of features, and so if whenever you see one, go ahead and click it. So let's say you've been following a post for a while, tired of it, you can unfollow it. You can also sort your feed by trending or new, what you've liked and what you've posted. So that one little tip, knowing about carrots and wedges, will make you a superstar Search Funder user. So that was just a quick preview of Search Funder. I encourage you to go through and click everything on the menu so that you know what's there. Mark and Luke are always updating things and putting new features in, and it's getting better every single day. So I hope that you enjoy Search Funder and you provide feedback to them if you have any suggestions or comments. And I look forward to meeting each and every one of you in person or remotely as you go on your acquisition through entrepreneurship journey. Please keep me informed. Please keep me in the loop. I love to be able to make announcements about your launches, about your acquisitions, on all of that. So I look forward to you having a successful journey with the right backpack and tools in there. Have a good day.